that list then.
Okay.
Okay, it's said that you're somewhat of a workaholic, and the interviewer would like to know what exactly you have in progress right now. What things are going on?
Well, I'm in the middle of doing the music to the new movie by Paul Verhoeven, who directed Total Recall and Basic Instinct and all those RoboCop and those kind of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm scoring the whole of that picture plus songs. And it has a Vegas show inside the movie. It's all about the horrible side of Vegas. So I have to write stuff for the show as well.
What's it called?
It's called Showgirls.
Showgirls.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing the incidental music and also the show music within the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm at the moment in London. I'm in an exhibition in the Saatchi Gallery, a photographic exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
That's sponsored by Vogue, and it's kind of contemporary photographers from around the world. And they have like some Cindy Sherman and Andy Warhol photographs and things in there. And I've got two photographs in there, large 6 foot by 6 foot photo I took of Lou Reed.
Mm-hmm.
And one of a French girl, and then because of that, I've just been given an exhibition in a London gallery. It's the sort of biggest photographic gallery called the Hamilton Gallery in Mayfair. And so I'm busy preparing for that at the moment. I've got some photographs already prepared, but I'm setting off to take some very strange other photographs.
Is this photography thing a long-time hobby of yours, or is it something you're starting to get serious about now?
Just about 3.5 years old, I've been doing it. And I'm just also preparing to direct my second short film. I wrote and directed one last year called Taking Liberties with Mr. Simpson.
Uh-huh.
Which was on all the European film festivals.
Uh-huh.
And the next one's going to be called Nails. Nails, and it's set in New York, and I'm busy preparing to do that.
Uh-huh.
At the moment I'm quite busy here because my single off my new album is number 2 on all of the European radio charts.
So that's what you're doing. You're in Italy on promotion?
Yeah, I have to keep coming and doing interviews and televisions,
Uh-huh. Tell us about how this solo thing came about, because the last time we had heard from you, you were still in charge of Spiritual Cowboys. How did the solo thing actually happen?
Well, Spiritual Cowboys were actually a band that I formed the day after Eurythmics played the last gig. And I decided to go straight into playing live and in clubs and things to get away from the stadium and the whole massive star-like thing of Eurythmics and get down to basics. So I got friends of mine to play with me, plus people who I thought were talented songwriters that I was going to encourage for my own solo label. So, for instance, one of the Spiritual Cowboys, Nan Vernon, she's now got an album out on my label, Anxious Records, and it just came out. And the keyboard player Jonathan Perkins had a band called Miss World, and they had an album out, and it was kind of a bunch of, I suppose it was like a mini traveling Wilburys. They do songwriters too. And so after we'd done that for about 2 years, and I delivered 2 albums, I encouraged Nan to put her album out, and I decided to stop touring for a while, and I started to write songs. Then I had an album left to do with BMG. I was been signed to for 15 years, and I formed a duo with Terry Hall, from Specials.
Sure.
And we've called an album. It's very funny, actually, coincidentally, it's called Vegas. The group. And now I'm writing a musical all about Vegas. And one of those songs, is one of the main songs in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
quite bizarre.
Could you back up for a second, Dave? You said a 15-year contract with BMG?
Yeah, I was signed to them with that for, let me see, since, in one way or another, since 1978 or something.
Oh, so
You see, they had the Tourists, and then, after the Tourists, because the Tourists was signed to a band called Logo, which was part of Transatlantic, which is part of RCA, which BG then bought, and then inherited that contract, and blah, blah, blah. It went on years and years. And I made like 8 albums with Eurythmics, and then 2 or 3 soundtrack albums, like Lily Was Here and things like that. So this is my first album on a new label, which is on East West Warner's,
Right. Just the interviewer wanted to know if you just sort of described in detail the interim project, Spiritual Cowboys, and how you went solo after that. He wanted to know if the Eurythmics finally issuing their, I guess you guys formally announced the group was disbanding about the time you decided to go solo.
No, we never really announced it. I mean, I haven't really, we've never talked about it, and, so Annie's been living in a different country to me, and we both have been recording separately, and we've never talked about Eurythmics at all, so, but I can't imagine us ever doing anything again, because we're such separate lives now,
Yeah. This title track, Greetings from the Gutter.
Yeah.
Does this have anything to do at all with the end of the Eurythmics? Or
yeah, it's kind of, it was like a kind of, it's a kind of postcard about, for somebody who's been away a long time, and they send a postcard going, hi, greetings from New York City, but it's got a twist to it, it's kind of like, it's difficult to go through so much with somebody, and then it sort of be a strange ending, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, how did that come about? I mean, why did you sort of temporarily, you announced that you would be temporarily not doing the Eurythmics thing, and then all of a sudden it just sort of disappeared or evaporated?
Yeah, well, it's all to do with, I think just changes in people's lives, and, like getting involved with different people, and kind of, the intensity of like 2 people writing songs and playing together over all that time kind of weakens when, you have other influences in your life, i.e. we both got married, both had children, but, it just kind of, it's hard to get that same intensity. So when we were making We 201, we thought this doesn't feel as intense as the other. And then after we didn't record anything anymore, then you really get into a completely different life, if you know what I mean.
And the guys you chose to record with this time around, like Bootsy Collins and Bernie Worrell, are not exactly the kind of people we would have expected you to record with. How did you?
I like to do that on purpose. I like to take some people or an idea that's completely opposite to what you would imagine. And to them, I was getting them to play stuff that they never would normally play, like Bootsy playing an acoustic bass with an orchestra, and all sorts of strange things. It's just that, I think if you just always go along the same path and play with the same people, and you can get into a kind of a state where, everything you play is okay, but it hasn't got that sort of edge or sparkle when you're, working on something fresh and new. And also, my songs have got a bittersweet thing in the lyric all the time, it's very sort of black comedy or, comedy tragedy. And I want the juxtaposition in the music, I wanted the complete sort of opposites, like a sort of English eccentric song on top of a black groove, you know what I mean?
I guess you were pretty lucky landing these guys. They're pretty busy otherwise, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I just talked to them and I sent them some songs and stuff, and they would just really love the idea and were really into it. And in fact, they still want to play with me, live when I go out and play some gigs.
And is that going to materialize?
Well, I don't think till next year, because I'm so busy going around doing all these TVs and things, and I want to let the album sink in as well. But I don't want them to come along to the gig and, you know, I want them to know that they're going to get an album full of, you know, I mean, a set full of songs from this album.
And right now you said the thing's taking off in Europe.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of number 2 on all the European radio charts. You know, they take a thing across the whole of Europe, every country, including Eastern Europe as well, of the most played record. And Heart of Stone's number 2, and Nana Cherry's number 1 at the moment.
Had you expected this kind of commercial success? I mean, was it intended for popular?
Well, I mean, I love pop music. I love making that thing in 3.5-4 minutes where you just capture a piece of time and you sort of polish it and make it into this shiny sort of strange object, you know what I mean, where it's really listenable, but what you're singing is quite strange, which, I mean, Heart of Stone is quite a bizarre thing, because the chorus sounds so up, you know what I mean, it sounds so, but the words are singing, maybe your heart is made of stone, you know.
I wonder if this is a valid comparison, but the interviewer here likens the record to Bowie's Young Americans.
Yeah, it's funny because I was with David Bowie, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before, all afternoon in his hotel room, and we were playing my record, and he was playing his new stuff with Eno that I've been doing. And I was telling him, you know, that I was directly influenced by the hunky-dory Young Americans period when I was younger, and that I'm not shy to sort of put my references, well, you can't really stop because it's in your subconscious, but you know, and he was talking about, you know, his reference points and his influences and how they're all over his and stuff too. I mean, but I it's such a reference that I even say at one point in one of the songs, I say Stardust Lovers in a Ziggy cartoon, you know, from referring to Ziggy Stardust, you know. And but there's lots of other influences in there, but I think, you know, Young Americans is a really sort of good one.
Are you the kind of musician who likes to drop musical hints like that, or is it something?
Yeah, I like playing with. You see, because what I'm doing is I'm writing for myself, really. So there's different records in different parts of my life that mean a lot, right? Lou Reed's Transformer, and you know, I'll drop sort of little music. If the stories that I'm singing are about people I know, and the people I know and myself might listen to a certain thing, you know, and I'll drop that as sort of musical backdrop. Just to say, if you're writing a script, and the script you're really writing is about you and your wife and your lover, right? You can't help but write scenes in the script that really happened, and then you can't help but write the house that they live in a certain, you know what I mean? A certain thing about it. That's the same. So actually, I did write a script thing at the end of my album, an argument between Carly Simon and David Sanborn. I don't know if you've heard that. The track.
No, I didn't hear that.
Oh, it's the very last track. After the track finishes, there's a 3-minute argument. Yeah.
That you scripted out.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
There's a question about all these various guests you have all on the album here. There's Mick Jagger and Lou Reed and Carly Simon, Laurie Anderson, etc. How did you get all these people to take part in your recording?
I didn't think about it. I rang up and asked anybody. It just happened to be an organic thing that happened. You know, Lou Reed lived around the corner of the studio, and I'm really good friends of his, and we kept meeting up for breakfast and lunch before I started, and he came down the studio a few times, and he loved that song, and he played a guitar solo on it, you know. And then Mick Jagger came down the studio to check out what was going on, and we were busy recording the track Jealousy, so he joined in singing back and vocals with all the girls. And Carly Simon, that was really weird, because I just happened to be recording an orchestra for one of the songs on the morning in the studio, and she was in the same studio in the afternoon. And we rang over time, you know. And she heard the song. It was called Oh No Not You Again. She was listening to it, and she really loved it, because it goes very strange at the end, you know. And I said, and now, you know, at the end there has to be this great big long argument. between a man and a wife, and that's the end of the album.
Mm-hmm.
And I explained why, and she said, well, you're talking to the best arguer in America. I said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she said she would do it, so she went in and did it.
Mm-hmm. And you also have the David Sanborn in there, which is probably, I guess, the first sort of acting gig he's ever had, isn't it?
That's right, yeah, he not only played the sax on the album, but he argued on it as well.
Mm-hmm. The interviewer seems to think that you're the kind of guy who attracts other musicians because you show a real honest affection for music, or rather an infectious enthusiasm for music. And maybe that's why other musicians sort of feel a kindred spirit in you.
Yeah, I think I attract lots of musicians, especially people who really are nuts about music, like David Sanborn and people like that. But also in the young groups, I mean, like the other week I had, the band Blur
Mm-hmm.
From England. They were all around my apartment. I think I just because I sort of like constantly doing things to do with music and experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
They like to sort of, watch an experiment or join in or something, Because a lot of things are done so straight, like, if you're in a group, you're in a group. If you play classical music, you play classical music. And I like to blur the lines to make it sort of diffuse.
Ask you for your autograph, which is sort of come up with